Happy Friday, Stu. We're here again.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
You know, today I had plans not to talk about the emerging Trump 2, but
you can't resist.
No, well, it's just a nonstop circus already. It's like that line from The Godfather 3. Every time I try to leave, they keep sucking me back in. And we had a long discussion about this completely loathsome Matt Gaetz with no legal credentials to do anything other than chase after 17-year-old women or girls for sex.
And use drugs and sell maybe drugs.
Right, and then be in charge of our law enforcement without any law enforcement experience whatsoever. Well, apparently he obviously took it upon himself to withdraw his nomination.
And announced that he would not be a candidate for Congress.
Yeah.
That's pretty, and that prompted some action, I don't know how much, I don't know what, in Florida to start the ball rolling on the replacement election. And that could be an interesting point here, because he might have said, maybe I could go back.
Yeah, I think he's not going back because
No.
he does not want that ethics report out there. And, you know, there was also some speculation that he would take Marco Rubio's seat in Florida in the Senate. And as if DeSantis is going to smear his reputation to put this disgusting, loathsome person who is hated universally. And this, you know, everyone's like, oh, people will forget about this. But the bottom line is you start your term with this kind of crackpot announcement. And there's other crackpots, which we're not going to talk about today. And now we know who his replacement is, who is certainly not a traditional candidate you would think to be attorney general, but she is a prosecutor, and there's nothing wrong with her, really.
It looks like a potentially qualified candidate.
Which is amazing in light of some of the people he's appointing. But I will say one thing about her, though. Notice how she's blonde and looks like Ivanka.
There is this passion he has. It really is.
Right.
I think it could lead to some very interesting things in the White House under the desk.
She's single. She's single. Although I don't know how melanoma will deal with that.
This is a dick, yeah, right. But they're blonde. They're universally blonde. And they have the same look.
They do all that Eastern European stuff. It's like that's his poison, so to speak. Well, anyways, Stu, good riddance to Matt Gaetz. I hope I never hear about him again.
Agreed. And
he's a disgusting human being, and may he burn in hell. And people should poop on his lawn in Florida.
Now, following up on, some references to sex and the like, I have a little story here about spilled coffee. And you can say, what the hell am I talking about? Why am I bothering you? Well, I'm going to start with, in 1994, there was the case of Liebeck versus McDonald's. Now, the fair Sheila Liebeck poured some hot coffee on herself in a McDonald's, and you may remember that. Many of these people did.
Yeah, she got a settlement, right?
So, yeah, she did. And it spilled on her lap, and she sued McDonald's. And I think many people at the time probably considered this frivolous, and it seemed so. But think of this. She was injured in her thighs, her buttocks, and her groin, and she had third-degree burns. Now, when you have third-degree burns, it destroys all layers of skin. First is kind of redness and pain, but third degree, all layers of skin. And she had skin grafts and 2 years of medical treatments. Eventually, there's a trial, punitive damages, but a settlement. Okay, that's... Now, interesting background. McDonald's required, and I don't know what their policy is today, franchisees to hold coffee at 180 to 190 degrees. And that can cause third-degree burns in 3 seconds. That's important because you don't have time to react, to wipe things off, to do anything.
Right.
3 seconds. If you lower the temperature to between 160 to 160 degrees, you get 20 seconds to avoid third-degree burns. That's a noticeable change. I don't know what their policies are and what other airlines' policies are. But
you mean fast food or airlines or both?
Oh, I was going to get to airlines.
Oh, okay.
But no, you're right. I wandered. But you're right. I don't know what McDonald's is doing, though, in terms of their coffee or degree process. Right?
I don't know, Stu, because I wouldn't drink that crap. But I'm guessing.
But okay, so there's that in the background. And now, point 2 on this coffee in the crotch situation. it comes from 1995, just 1 year after that McDonald's case. So clearly, it was a Seinfeld issue, a Seinfeld episode. I'm sure many people know it. And it was under the title The Maestro. Now, the Seinfeld episode is based on that case, but Kramer in the Seinfeld episode pours coffee on himself. He gets an attorney, Jackie Childs. Now, I don't know if you remember Jackie.
I know. He was he was also based on Johnny Cochran.
Sure, but this guy had more humor to him. He's a brilliant actor. He was wonderful, Jackie Childs. So Jackie Childs immediately sees great opportunity for big bucks. On his own, Kramer then goes out and happens to run into the maestro, who was Elaine's boyfriend at the time. And he was the conductor of a Police Benevolent Association fund band.
A real winner.
But he wants to be called and demanded that he be called the maestro. So Kramer's talking to the maestro, and he gets some bong, B-A-L-N. He gets some bong from the maestro who recommends it. So Kramer puts on the bong, and the wound is immediately healed. And so Jackie Childs is upset. He's very upset about this. And Kramer, finally going into a settlement conference, the insurance company doesn't know about the bomb, and they say, and they had two things on their mind. In the first one, they said, look, Mr. Kramer, we're going to give you not a lifelong supply, but you have the right to free coffee for the rest of your life. And then they were about to say, you get $50K as well. But he just signed on as coffee for life. I don't know, it's just priceless. Okay, that's enough of that digression. But, and I do remember Jackie Childs, and this is taken from the facts of the other case. He says to Kramer, did it have a lid on? Lid on. No. Oh, well, there it goes. You know, they pick up enough facts. They're very good at that. Now, more recently, in September of this year, a flyer on some airline spills coffee on his lap, unable to get up from his seat, trapped in agonizing pain, disfiguring scars, embarrassing discoloration on his we'll say on his penis and testicles. He had decreased sensation and sexual dysfunction. He alleges, and this case hasn't been decided yet, but he alleges that there was hot water that was handed to him in negligent fashion, meaning filled to the brim without a lid and at an unacceptable temperature. And what I was thinking about was, and I looked up quickly, I just went to coffee airline stuff. There are a lot of these cases, they're ongoing. So there's a very high level of responsibility in these cases, apparently, for the airlines. And there's even some Montreal convention on the subject. I think one of the lessons, though, is, well, hold on to your coffee on a plane. Hold on to your privates when you spill coffee.
Or you can buy like a diaper to protect yourself, water resistant or whatever. I don't even know what to say, but where was your mind this week, Stu?
I just
coffee on the penis.
Well, I tell you, it started with the New York Post.
Oh, of course it did.
Of course right there, that
back to the left. Well,
and that led to research. What
airline was this?
Can't recall.
Well, whatever it is. You know,
it was an American airline.
For now on, iced coffee, if I was in charge.
Oh, that's the lesson you have?
Yes. Although for all these sexual deviants in Washington, D.C. that we seem to be coming across, maybe we should pour hot coffee on their wee-wees and put them out of commission. Although in Bill Clinton's case, I don't think anything would put him out of commission except what he deserves.
Okay. Well, I've done enough on that.
Well, it's rather amusing. You brought back some old memories at Seinfeld, because that was funny.
Oh, God.
And I always liked Larry David's show, Curb Your Enthusiasm, where he plays the most obnoxious person ever. I relate to him. Well, this is a much more serious story, Stu, and this is further evidence of why people here in Manhattan, like you and I, are so pissed off, okay? On Monday of this week, over a 2.5-hour period, a mentally ill man stabbed 3 people in Chelsea, Midtown East, and out in front of the United Nations, of all the places.
There or something.
Yes. It was a 36-year-old construction worker was killed. a woman outside her apartment, and then the man near the UN.
Was he fishing, that guy, or am I dreaming of something? That guy
I
near the
think
UN?
one of them was fishing, yeah. And the person who was guilty of this is a 51-year-old by the name of Ramon Rivera. He had a long history of criminal behavior. In the last year, 8 criminal charges, 7 of which were felonies.
The bastard should not be on the streets. Isn't it obvious to anyone?
Apparently not to the progressives, but he was in prison for a crime, and he was released in October of this year. And then he had charges pending in New Jersey, and he was also, what was I going to say? And he was out on bail while this was occurring. Out on bail.
Yeah.
He's a violent, mentally ill man out on bail.
And just look, what it gets to in some of these things is we need to go back about 40 or 50 years and say, if you are mentally ill, or if you've committed certain offenses and there's an apparent mental issue, you need to be withheld. You need to be held without any legal process other than just getting a doctor to say one thing or another, until such time as doctors say you are okay to leave and you're not at risk to yourself or others. It's got to be.
Or in his case, why don't you just put him in a padded cell and lock him up with no questions asked? Because I've had enough of this bullshit of being humane to these people. They're animals and there's no redemption. And our own mayor, Mayor Adams, when he heard of this, he was like, why was this guy out on the street? Well, why don't you ask your liberal friends in the Democrat Party, most notably that disgusting Manhattan District Attorney, fat Alvin Bragg. I have never hated someone more, and he is
I'm sure you have.
Probably. But he is a symbol of the left-wing arrogance, and they have not ruined, but they have made our quality of life miserable.
Absolutely.
And then on top of this, Stu, on Wednesday, a tourist, a 55-year-old male, was slashed in the face on the Upper West Side. His assailant ran, and there's no word on whether they caught it. So we have mentally ill people killing and slashing people on the streets. Meanwhile, as we've discussed before, Daniel Penny defended people on a subway who were subject to another mentally ill, schizophrenic, who was on drugs, had all kinds of problems.
And made others frightened for their life.
Exactly. But because Daniel Penny was white and, what was his name, Jordan Neely was black, this was turned into a BLM. The BLM prosecution with people like the race-baiting poverty pimp Al Sharpton behind it. There are people outside the court protesting, calling this guy a murderer, etc. For people who complain about our criminal justice system and how it's so unfair, I love how they're not so wedded to the whole notion of innocent till proven guilty. And of course, Alvin Bragg has been vigorously pursuing Daniel Penny, while people like Ramon Rivera and other people, get to be left out on the street under his lax policies, where his first day in office, he made a long list of crimes he was no longer going to prosecute.
It's the fair beating. It's
everything, Stu. And then on top of this, Stu, Fat Alvin has been like Ahab chasing the whale, the orange whale, in this case, Donald Trump, with that bullshit case he brought that is never going to last. And now the case has been held up for sentencing. And Bragg, in his office, asked the judge to delay it until Trump is out of office. But now I've heard that the judge is now just,
Mersha.
Yeah, he's delaying it indefinitely. Now, isn't that convenient? If this guy is so guilty of all these crimes, why are you asking for a 4-year delay? I mean, it shouldn't matter. But Alvin Bragg brought that case to cater to a Manhattan audience, and a liberal Manhattan audience. And this is what happens when you allow these progressives to get away with this kind of garbage. Now, in New York State, I think the margin of Trump's defeat here was not that much. It was like 55-45.
Yeah, he did.
And all these dumb Democrats are sitting around scratching.
I wonder what went wrong.
Yeah, I wonder. Well, here's a good example. And Alvin Bragg needs to go down like that scumbag in LA did. And like throughout California, all these far left mayors and prosecutors were like the mayor of Oakland, the mayor of San Francisco, and other prosecutors were thrown out of office by...
Is he up again for a re-election?
Not sure. Probably 2 more years. And... you know, he'll be playing the race card all along with his race-baiting, anti-Semitic friend, Al Sharpton, who is one of the most repulsive people out there. He is not a civil rights leader. He is a scumbag, yet he has a show on MSNBC.
Yeah.
Although good luck to that, because NBC is just getting spun off, and they may even change the name. Poor Rachel Maddow. She may have to sell her multi-million-dollar apartment. But anyway, Stu... this is not the only place where this crazy left-wing DEI prosecution philosophy, we also have it in Chicago, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you hit it. So you know what also came up this week? You do know. Just 2 or 3 days ago, the words Jussie Smollett came up again. Jussie, whatever. Jussie
I just call it Juicy.
Jussie. No, 2 S's. Jussie, we'll go with Jussie. So in 2019, Jussie, who's a black gay actor of some quality apparently, and he alleged that while he was walking the streets in Chicago, he was on the show Empire, which was, maybe still is. But
it's not on anymore now, but I loved it.
So he alleged that 2 men assaulted him. They spouted racial stuff, and they gave homophobic slur and threw Tuscaloosa now around his neck. And it led to a massive search and a massive investigation for a year or more at huge expense and dedication of personnel. And the investigators came to believe that the thing was a sham, that it was a hoax. They even secured the testimony of 2 guys who were extras on the set of Empire. And they said, he paid us money to do these things. It was a bribe. Of course, Smollett has said, I paid that money for training routines or training training. Oh, yeah, bullshit. So now, what happens next? The Cook County District Attorney or State Attorney Kim Foxx, who I think is out of her league and has been so for a long time.
I think she's also leaving office, too.
Oh, is that right? Right now, did she announce that? Is that what you mean?
I think she's no longer. After this year, she's out. Right.
Okay. Well, yeah. So, okay, she decided on the basis of lots of informal discussions with friends, often black friends, often speaking with Smollett himself in an improper way, she decided that she was going to dismiss the accusation, dismiss the case, and she cited Smollett's volunteer service in the community and agreement to forfeit a bond of $10,000 or so to the city of Chicago. Well, that's not
15 hours of community service. She gave him a plea deal, right?
A plea deal. I mean, that's happened before. But where you have an egregious crime, and that includes lying to the police, and that includes all this stuff with faking a crime. And I don't know what the precise language is on the offenses, but it involves...
I think it was disorderly conduct for...
being disorderly conduct later.
For filing a false police report.
False report. So she dismisses the case. This brings outrage in Chicago. And somehow there's a decision made, and I'm not sure of the process by which this happened, to allow a special prosecutor to take the case. And he took it forward, a guy named Webb, who was very well distinguished former prosecutor and member of a law firm. So he takes the case, and he ends up securing a conviction on 5 counts of disorderly conduct, sentenced to 150 days in jail, 30 months of probation, and a $140K fine. And again, a lot of this must have been due to the fact that they had other evidence with respect to phone calls and texts, but the evidence of the 2 guys who got paid the buck saying they did this to fake the crime, that would seem to be just about dispositive if I were in a jury. And so then comes an appeal of that verdict, and it goes up to the Illinois Supreme Court. And now, in something that I have to say I agree with, they dismissed the case. They overturned the conviction. And their reasoning was that essentially he's being tried twice. And he was being tried after he had not reliably, but there was detrimental reliance. It almost was the language of a contracts case.
It almost sounds like a double jeopardy type issue, right?
But they used that language, which came to be important, detrimental reliance, because he paid the money and he did a few hours of court stuff, of
community service.
And that was interesting to me because I remember suddenly I went back to contracts. I was thinking of contracts law, detrimental reliance. And that's what I think got it turned around.
It was a procedural win on his part.
Yeah.
But he is never acknowledged that he was guilty. No. He is claiming he's innocent.
Well, did the Illinois court say anything about it?
No. They said the facts were the facts, right? Yeah. So nothing proves that he's innocent. He just won. And this gets back to these progressive prosecutors. Kim Foxx is a thin version of
discretion.
Alvin Bragg.
Abusive discretion, doing what she did.
She's another radical left-wing prosecutor who is playing the DEI game when it comes to prosecutions. But, I mean, in all truth, the crime he committed, it's not the worst crime, but what it is, his arrogance, his buffoonery, and
the degree to which he usurped the services of officers, the police department.
He created a national kind of scandal. He was on TV. I didn't know. Yeah, it was a national issue because it was like a hate crime. The only hate crime that I see now is everyone hates him, and they should, and he should never be employed in anything again. And he should be ruined and let him go work as a fry cook. I don't care.
What do you think will happen?
Well, I did read that he's did some independent movie and he's gotten but his career has really gone nowhere because he got fired from Empire and the show ultimately was canceled. And frankly, I never knew who he was before Empire. And
no, nor did I.
I had forgotten about him. He is really a disgusting charlatan. And to this day, Stu, I do not understand. You had a good job in a good show. You were making a name for yourself. Why would you pull a stunt like this?
They claim, the guys said, or the detectives learned, that he was upset. He wasn't getting paid enough. He wasn't being treated properly. And that something about they didn't respond to him on something. He didn't think he was getting
This was on the show. And this is how you think you're going to get more money? By making up this bullshit story about MAGA people in Chicago?
What does it tell producers and casting directors about the risk of hiring you on another project? Most of the time, I know this from experience, not that I've conducted myself.
You were not on Empire.
No, but now they're always looking to see what you'd be like on set.
Right.
Because their character and their quality as casting directors is at risk here every time they cast someone. If they get some guy that goes out and does this thing, it's a blemish.
Well,
or something far less.
A well-deserved one. And I would also say, I don't know if you saw when he was convicted and they were taking him away because he spent maybe a couple of days in jail before they started the appeal process. He lifted his hands up. He was screaming, I'm innocent, and this crazy, this is someone, seriously mentally ill, clearly, and obviously.
I don't know about that.
Who would do this?
Oh, it's stupid. It's stupid. It's got an arrogance to it and a self-absorption to it. But I don't know if that crosses the line into
some kind of narcissistic personality.
Yes.
Well, I hope they give him electroshock therapy and it doesn't work because it won't. Because someone like this belongs in the fires of hell. But it's kind of funny that you're talking about fraudulent claims and using race and politics for the same thing. We had another issue here in New York, in Staten Island, of all places, recently. There is a
I like Staten Island.
I know you do. Well, I don't have anything against it. I don't go to.
Well, visit.
I would go there. I would mingle with the little people. But there's a bakery there called Holterman's Bakery, and it has been there for generations. It's kind of an institution where, everyone likes it, blah, blah, blah. Well, as everyone knows, Whoopi Goldberg is way more famous than Jussie Smollett, or whatever you want to call him, that son of a bitch. But, she's been in some good movies.
She's a good actor.
Right, and she could be funny on occasions, and I don't really, I know on The View, she's very strident in addressing her anti-MAGA, political viewpoints. I mean,
How often do you watch this?
never. I just see the clips, on the news.
Okay.
Right, but I don't watch the show.
Some proof.
I know.
I think you're right by the TV.
I think I may have watched the show years and years ago.
Okay, Your Honor, we just
when it had Barbara Walters on.
All right.
But I don't watch it. I mean, it seems to me just an insipid show, but it's somehow gotten this whole stage because they talk very stridently about politics and they have a very distinct viewpoint, right? So it was her birthday, Whoopi's, and she wanted to get this particular pastry from Holterman's.
Whoopi.
Yeah. It wasn't a Whoopi pie. It was something, I forgot the name of it, but it's some kind of cream with sponge cake and fruit and all that stuff. Whoopi, if you looked at her lately, we'll get to the obesity issue in a minute, should not be eating pastry anyway. She should have had carrots for her birthday. So when she went to order these pastries, they refused to take the order, and she went on national television. She didn't name the bakery, but everyone knew who it was because I guess they're known for this. And she claimed that they didn't fulfill the order because of her politics. And then she ended up getting the pastries anyway. I think a staff member went and called them later and were able to order them and fulfill the order. And so in response to this, the bakeries outed themselves and said who they were and denied this vigorously. And there was a whole lot of support, not just from the Republicans in Staten Island. I think even a Democrat supported it. And there are lines around the door of people.
That's what happens on this kind of stuff.
You know what? These liberals try to cancel people. It doesn't work anymore. You basically enrich these people. And the final rub of all this, apparently the reason why they didn't take the order is because their boiler wasn't working and they didn't want to take an order they couldn't fulfill.
Yeah.
But,
she didn't ask why. Or
no,
just
but
assumed.
she just assumed. And this is the kind of antics and behavior that we can expect from these hysterics who still can't get over the fact that, no, I mean, I don't know about you, Stu. I do not care what Whoopi Goldberg, her political viewpoints have no impact on me. I don't even know she went to college. I don't know what her education is, but she's an actress. She's been in some like The Color Purple, Ghost, etc. She's funny. She was in Sister Act. But she is not someone, I don't care about any of these people in Hollywood. I just read that Ellen, that supposedly nice lesbian who had that talk show, and her wife, Portia de Rossi, they're now leaving America to go to England. Do you think anyone cares? Go. I mean, first of all, Ellen got fired from her show, essentially.
There was some sexual...
No, it wasn't sexual. She was an abusive employer, while putting out this image of being like the nice, sweet girl next door. Yeah. By the way, Ellen is funny too, but I didn't know she was such a bitch to people. But apparently she treated her staff, she created a toxic workplace. And then she's leaving America because Mr. King of Toxicity became president. You should go work for him. You'll fit right in. And plus, she grew her hair out. It's blonde. She might get a job. But at the same time, now she stopped dyeing her hair blonde, and she's moved to England with Portia.
The Cotswolds.
Yes. I hope they enjoy their scones and clotted cream. And I don't know. I'm not going to miss them. And I'm also not going to miss Richard Gere either, because he is now announced that he's moving to Spain. And I mean, once again, I don't know the last movie he's ever been in. And, no one probably hires him anymore, and keep him away from the hamsters, because we all heard that story.
Well, I love Pretty Woman.
You like that movie?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
I was my cup of tea. But I mean, that was Julia Roberts' big swan song. But I don't see her announcing that she's leaving the country. And the reason she isn't, she probably needs to be here because she still gets acting gigs, right? These losers, these has-beens, let them go to Spain, let them go to England.
I don't know that Richard Gere is a has-been.
Well,
I don't know that he's being denied roles. I don't follow it. I don't know what he's got, but I wouldn't think he's...
Just don't let him work in a pet store.
They don't know the hamster story.
You don't know the hamster story?
No, do you?
Yeah, apparently.
Do you really have time to do this?
Apparently, he let them go up his ass.
Oh, please.
That's the story.
Please.
And I would not
to read this story.
Oh, that's been around forever. Where have you been, Stu? I don't know if it's true either, but for purposes of this conversation, it is. And I mean, he was in like the American Gigolo, the Cotton Club, blah, 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 Officer and a Gentleman. But what was the last thing he's ever been in?
Officer and a Gentleman was
a good
wonderful
movie.
Film. Absolutely wonderful.
But, you know, anyone who had, like, for example, Rosie O'Donnell hates Trump, has been very vitriolic about it. She's still here. And the reason why she's still here is because she works. She has a job. She may be a crazy lesbian, but she's not a mean lesbian like Ellen, who chased her own ass out of the country. And by the way, how long do you think these people are going to last living in Europe? Because I hate to tell you, it doesn't have all the amenities of Los Angeles, where you can go get your Botox, you can go get your ass bleachings, and whatever else these people...
You know all these things. I don't know what... I don't want to know anything more about it.
You've not watched...
Ass bleaching, I don't know what you're talking about. I know the words, but I don't know.
Vaginal rejuvenation.
Come on.
Plastic surgery. But I don't think that's going on in the Cotswolds.
No.
What's going on there is sheep and lavender.
Well, there you go. There you go.
That's how it all started. But I mean, I have never heard anything so ridiculous. And by the way, Alec Baldwin, you can leave too. Although, once again, he's too busy shooting his coworkers.
That's a sad story.
It is a sad story. I don't know if he was actually guilty, but...
I thought of him to be more at risk as a producer than I did as a performer because of the other people that are supposed to be.
Right. They probably... who would put live bullets in... And
I get information on that subject. I got information on that subject from someone, and it was some electricians or the like that brought it onto the set on a paid basis to practice. I don't know where this came from. I can't remember. But from someone I thought was authoritative, who said that the ammunition was brought on and they'd go shoot things. These electricians would go shoot things during breaks or intermission.
And then they end up shooting someone and killing them. Well, I see Alec all the time. He lives a few blocks around here. He looks like death on wheels. He could barely move. And then he's got that wife with her huge, speaking of plastic surgery, fake boobs. They're so fake. I mean, she stands on one side of the street. Her boobs go to the other side of the street. It's hilarious.
Well, could you take a picture of that?
I would, but I'd be afraid he'd punch me because he's so violent. But I don't know how he could even move to punch me because he is so bedraggled and like out of shape. He looks like an alcoholic.
I haven't seen him lately. I saw him once or twice pushing not a wheelbarrow.
A stroller. He's got like 100 kids. He's got like 8 kids, 8 young children, and he can barely cross the street. All right. I will stop on my hating upon Ellen, Alec.
There's a whole group.
The whole group. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Don't get me started on Holly Hunter, because she's another one.
No, please, not now.
All right. Well, I think we've concluded, and I want to just say bon voyage to all of you assholes in Hollywood. No one else wants you either, but go ahead, leave.
Well, thank you. And I guess that's the end of today.
It is. Okay. We'll talk to you later, Stu.
Bye now.